The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I'm Sean Yancey. It is Wednesday, June 17th, and here's a look at some of the stories we're following for you tonight. Coming up, Purple Line progress, where things stand for the light rail system 1 year before it's expected to welcome passengers. Plus, helping young people become pilots. Less than 4% of U.S. pilots and flight engineers are people of color, but the Tuskegee Airmen are hoping to change that. How they're inspiring the next generation to take to the skies, and how you can help at a special event this weekend. Then, did you know that King William County, Virginia, is home to the longest-running Indian tribe? We're going to take a closer look at the history of the Pamunkey Indians in this region. But we begin tonight with the race for mayor of D.C. and the results for the Democratic primary. Now, the polls closed nearly 24 hours ago, but there are still enough votes that are outstanding that we can't project a winner in the mayor's race just yet. As it stands right now, Janice Lewis-George has a big lead with 53% of the vote. The other leading candidate, Kenyon McDuffie, stands at 36% with nearly 3/4 of expected votes already counted. Again, as we said, the race still too close to call, according to NBC News. The decision desk, they're saying there are just still too many mail-in ballots that need to be tallied. The D.C. Board of Elections said it does not expect to add any new votes to the tally tonight, so it will take at least another day before we can project a winner. Tonight, though, we will take you through some of the possible outcomes and what the district could look like under Janice Lewis-George or Kenyon McDuffie's leadership. Axios D.C. reporter Janae Deal joins us now to help us break things down. Janae, it's always great to have you join us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Great to talk to you.
All right, let's get right to it. We know that right now, Janice Lewis-George has the lead. Many people expect her to win this race. But how much, by the way those results are out there, does it signal that voters want change from the Bowser administration? Is that your takeaway from this?
That's my takeaway. I think this is a 180 change from Mayor Bowser, who has led D.C. for 12 years. And also a big shift from a lot of business-friendly mayors that have ran the city over the past couple decades. Janice Lewis-George, if she wins, and we just are looking, as you mentioned, for the final tally here, she would be the first Democratic Socialist mayor in D.C., following momentum in other cities like New York City, who elected Zohran Mamdani last year. She ran on affordability. She ran on expanding childcare access and pocketbook issues. And not to mention, standing up to Trump is another obviously big component here. She would present a much different path forward for the city than what I think we've seen previously in D.C. politics. This is really an opportunity, also down ballot, we can talk about the change coming to the Wilson building next year, potentially here.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. You know, people have likened her to, as you mentioned, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, depicting her as that Democratic Socialist. We know President Trump already said he will step in and take over the district if she's elected. But unlike New York City, Trump can take over D.C. If Lewis-George is elected, what do you think the likelihood is that the White House and her administration will actually work together?
Yeah, here's my read on this. And Trump last week threatened to take over D.C. again, or take it over for the first time, you could say, if Janice Lewis-George wins. He would need Congress to approve a full sweeping takeover, which a lot of observers find is unlikely. There are creative ways that President Trump can intervene in the city, though. He took over the police department temporarily over the summer last time. He could use other methods to pressure the city. But I will say, I've talked to Janice Lewis-George a lot about this. I asked her about this last night, what her message to President Trump would be. And she said she is willing to work with anyone when it comes to helping district residents. And I think this is the same kind of playbook that Zohran Mamdani went into the Oval Office with, which is being clear-eyed about where the disagreements are, but also being clear where the opportunity is. If you talk about development downtown and other areas where I think the next administration, if she's elected, will have to walk a fine line. But I think there is opportunity there for something interesting.
Now, again, as we mentioned, it is still too early to call this race. But Kenyon McDuffie said last night his fight is not over. If he ends up losing, he still has a clear path to remain an influential voice in D.C. politics. If he were elected, what would his administration look like? And if not, do you see him going back in to the city council?
Yeah, I mean, Kenny McDuffie ran as sort of someone who would be more of a steady hand at the wheel, someone who proposed and said his ideas were more realistic when it came to housing, when it came to public safety, when it came to growing the economy of the district. Very much in line, I think, with a lot of what the Mayor Bowser administration has done, with areas of also difference, of course, too. He would have brought different approaches, I think, to crime and other things and policing with his, he's done some criminal justice reforms on the council. But his future, I think he still has a future, even if he doesn't win this race. There are multiple seats up for grabs potentially next year as well. There's an at-large seat that Robert White will be vacating now that he looks poised to become the next delegate. So this is, I think, McDuffie, while he's waiting for these votes to be finally tallied, there are still opportunities that observers are considering in D.C. politics right now.
Janae, let's talk about one of the other big things that everyone was talking about for this particular primary was the option, or not the option, just ranked choice voting in general. What did you hear from voters? What did they tell you about their experience?
Yeah, I mean, this was a big change for D.C. So, and especially in election races like in Ward 1, where there were half a dozen people or more running, in the at-large race, where there were 9 people running, this is where ranked choice voting really matters. In the past, a lot of candidates have worried about vote splitting and sort of like losing out because of multiple candidates running with the same sort of platform. With the results in now, in the at-large race, we're going to see this go into ranked choice voting tabulation. And those results might not be known until early next week, certainly until Sunday at the very earliest. And in Ward 1, there's a Democratic social candidate, Aparna Raj, who is leading with 47%. That will also need a ranked choice vote tabulation, it looks like. So big change for D.C. voters. It looks like turnout, though, is going to be on par with some previous elections, which is a good sign. There were some worries. Critics of ranked choice voting said it would deter voting, but I don't think we can say that's happened here.
It's a good thing. And it was a beautiful day as well outside. So hopefully that also
helps. Yeah.
Get people out. Axios DC's Janae Deal, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me.
While the mayor's race is still too early to call, we can project the winner in one of the competitive races. With more than 63% of votes counted, Councilmember Robert White, as you heard Janae mention, is projected to win the Democratic primary for D.C.'s delegate to Congress. Eleanor Holmes Norton currently holds that seat. News 4's Mark Seagrave sat down with Robert White to talk about the election and his plans as he turns his attention now to the November general election.
You still have another race ahead of you in November, the general election. We know the reality in Washington, D.C. with Democrats in the primary. But what do you do between now and November and then now in January?
Well, between now and November, my work, and I started that this morning, is mobilizing residents into those swing states. We have to defend ourselves, and we can't start when the next delegate gets sworn in January. The die will be cast by then. So we have to get mobilizing. I'm setting up meetings now. I've spoken to Democratic leadership. I've spoken to members of Congress this morning and organizers in D.C., and we're pulling it together. So I'm telling people to listen out for the call. When we send the signal, we need you to come.
What is your thoughts on election night? What we're seeing, we're seeing some, again, we don't have any other races called right now. There's still ranked choice tabulation ahead of us for probably some of these races. But the early indicators are there's going to be a shift in ideology. With Janice Lewis George, if she holds on to win, Alyssa Silverman, if she holds on to get back on the D.C. Council. What do you think that says? And what does it mean for the District of Columbia that there is likely going to be this shift in ideology on the D.C. Council and in the mayor's office?
People are so tired of the status quo, of people running for office, making promises, but only the people close to them benefit and everybody else gets left out. People are tired of that, and I think that's what we're seeing in these elections. But for the folks who think that the people being elected are, too progressive or ideological, what they need to do is really sit down with folks and find common ground. If they understand that the status quo is not working for the average person, then the next question is, what can we do to make it work better? So there's common ground, but we need to all be leaders, step up and find it. We're looking to new leadership in the city, and that's what I want to look at. But I think the average person in D.C. knows that most of us feel left behind and feel ignored, and there's a small number of people benefiting. That's not okay for D.C. It is not okay for us to be a city with a $25 billion budget, and most of us feel like we're barely making it and government services declining. We can do better, and we have to do better.
All right, Robert White will face Republican Denise Rosado in the general election in November. Stay with News 4 for continuing coverage of the D.C. primary. We will be following those results closely as the votes continue to come in. You can find the latest right here on air or in our NBC Washington app. All right, here's a look at some of the other stories we're following. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger signed the Right to Contraception Act into law today. The law bars state and local governments from passing or enforcing laws restricting people from getting contraceptives. Former Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoed similar legislation. Governor Spanberger also signed the Contraception Equity Act. It guarantees the right of Virginia women to access and use birth control and reduces the cost of contraception. More than a dozen people have been indicted for selling cocaine, fentanyl, and marijuana near Hindley Elementary School in Southeast D.C. since 2024. Today, D.C. police and the FBI and the DEA executed as many as 30 search warrants to target the so-called 4th Street crew. Hundreds of officers took part in the raids. They seized guns, drugs, and made 14 arrests. Of those 14 people arrested, 9 are from the district, 5 are from Maryland. Last month, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser announced the D.C. Public Schools Chancellor, Dr. Louis Farabee, was stepping down. Yesterday, the mayor announced that this woman, Dr. Kim Jackson, would serve as the interim chancellor starting this summer. She's served in DCPS leadership positions now for more than a decade, and prior to that, she served as a principal of Seton Elementary School and was a special education teacher. All right, get ready for more disruptions in the region ahead of July 4th. From July 2nd through the 5th, a portion of the Potomac River between the Key Bridge and the 14th Street Bridge will be off limits to boaters and kayakers. Parts of the Anacostia River from the 11th Street Bridge to the Frederick Douglass Bridge will also close on the evening of July 4th from 6 p.m. to midnight. You know, there are quite a few transportation projects happening right now in our region, including a huge brand new rail line set to open up next year. The long-planned Purple Line recently hit some major milestones. News 4 transportation reporter Adam Tuss has a look at the next milestone, which happens very soon.
Yes, here comes the new train. We've been telling you that as part of Metro's Red Line summer shutdown in just a few weeks, the Purple Line will be connected to Metro at the Bethesda station, cementing a vital east-west rail connection for our region.
This is a very important shutdown, though. We are going to be on the verge of changing this whole Bethesda area with this Purple Line connection, so we're very excited about that.
Now, for a project that has faced intense criticism, years of delays, construction cost overruns, and a contractor that literally walked off the job, the fact that it's now about 90% complete is promising. New rails have gone down, overhead wires up. The Purple Line trains themselves are being tested. Now remember, the Purple Line is not Metro. It's a light rail streetcar type vehicle that will connect with Metro. Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich.
The 16-mile light rail line will seamlessly connect Prince George's and Montgomery counties, and you'll be able to go to the University of Maryland College Park from Bethesda and Silver Spring.
Adding on to that, Joe McAndrew with the Maryland Department of Transportation.
The county executive hit on it. I'm going to go and say we can take it a little bit farther. You can go all the way over to New Carrollton if you'd like to, connect to the Northeast Corridor, as well as to MTA's service there on the MARC line.
The sacrifice commuters make this summer is going to lead to more transit options once the Purple Line service begins, which is planned to start in December 2027.
Light at the end of the tunnel for a project that has seemingly been stuck in neutral forever. Adam Tuss, News 4.
The Purple Line's cost have nearly doubled since construction began to nearly $10 billion. All right, there is much more to come here on the News 4 Rundown, including if today's nice weather will stick around for the rest of the work week.
It was another gorgeous day across our area. We did hit 90, but at least it wasn't too humid. But take a look at what's coming our way. Strong to severe storms trying to move in for our Thursday. I'll break it down for you and show you what to expect for the rest of the week and your weekend after the break. And welcome back. Yes, we saw a beautiful day out there on our Wednesday. It was a little bit on the hot side, above average as far as temperatures go, but not bad. We did hit 90 degrees. Out there right now, a mix of sun and clouds, really looking quite nice. Down to 85 right now. Winds out of the south at 14 miles an hour, and the dew point now over 60, so you probably feel it just a little bit if you're out and about. 83 degrees the current temperature in Gaithersburg, 86 Leesburg, 85 right now in Manassas, so a very nice night. Look at Annapolis on the water at 78. That is gorgeous. Nothing on the radar picture. We're going to be dry as we move on through the rest of tonight. Tracking a storm system, though, off to the west. Look at the clouds moving our way. You can see the rain and storms. Let's widen out a little bit more, actually. Show you what's happening between Chicago and Cincinnati. Rain. We got some Chicago down towards Kansas City. A couple of tornadoes. A little bit of a severe weather outbreak ongoing there. And this is all moving our direction. Now, earlier this week, it looked like our Thursday would have a good chance for severe weather, and we'd see our heat index well above 100 degrees. But some changes. This is moving our way a little bit early tomorrow morning, and that means we're going to see some cloud cover and some ongoing showers by 8 o'clock. This will help to lower instability as we make our way through the afternoon. I mean, here we are at 11 o'clock. Notice the line of showers. It's not much. It's not too strong, and we have some cloud cover here. So that will keep our instability down, and we might not see much in the way of storms at all. Can't rule out an isolated severe thunderstorm out there on our Thursday, so I'll be tracking that. And it's still going to be warm. I still have temperatures in the upper 80s to low 90s tomorrow. Now, Friday could be a different story. Friday morning, tracking some rain. Now, I think this is a little bit overdone here, but we need the rain. And if it's going to come on Friday, come early, because watch what happens during the afternoon. Starts moving out of here, and by 6, we're seeing sunny skies. So our Friday evening is looking fantastic, and that sets the stage for what I think will be a fantastic weekend as well. All right, tomorrow's forecast, once again, going to be warm and humid, going for a high in the low 90s. Good chance of showers and thunderstorms for some of us, but not everybody's going to see them. Once again, one or two of those storms could be strong to severe, but I'm not expecting a widespread severe weather outbreak, so that's good news. 85 on your Friday. Look at the weekend. Breezy, nice and mild, nice and warm Saturday and Sunday for Father's Day, looking great. Good chance of rain coming up on Monday and most of next week. Look at that. Looking great.
Jazz and polo will come together this weekend, all for a great cause. The 10th Celebrity Charity Polo and Jazz event kicks off Saturday in West Covington Park overlooking Baltimore's Peninsula waterfront. The event is a fundraiser for the East Coast chapter of Tuskegee Airmen. Joining me now with more on how you can get involved and why this is so important, we have Susan Smallwood, the founder of Celebrity Polo and Jazz, Jerome Hodge, the immediate past president of the East Coast chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, and William Moore, who we're going to call Bill. No, we're going to call him Will for the sake of this. A former student of the aviation program and now a certified flight instructor for the same program. Guys, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Grandest thanks, Sean.
All right, so this event is coming up. Susan's 10 years of polo and jazz. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect when they attend the event.
Well, they're going to expect a lot of grandness. We're celebrating 10 years next Saturday, the 20th, and we're welcoming you as our mistress of ceremonies. Ooh la la. And our celebrity host is Clifton Powell, actor from Washington, D.C.
Yep.
And we're grandly excited to celebrate the life and legacy of the East Coast chapter Tuskegee Airmen. And we have a secondary beneficiary of the Alpha Phi Alpha Brigadier General Charles McGee Youth Scholarship STEM program. So it's in alignment, and we're excited.
This is an exciting time, and let's talk a little bit more about the cause. Jerome, we know that the proceeds are going to benefit you guys, part of the proceeds to you guys, the East Coast chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, and your youth aviation program. Tell us about the program and why it's so important.
Well, the program stems from what the Tuskegee Airmen originally stood for, which was to expose, African Americans to aviation and flight. Well, we don't limit it obviously to African Americans, but our goal now is to expose young people to aviation and STEM careers, and obviously Will is an example of that. Both aircraft maintenance, pilot training, air traffic controllers, we've had all of those disciplines that have come through. We've tutored, mentored, and they've gone on to all kinds of careers, military, civilian, and otherwise.
Will, he said you're the perfect example of that. For those of you who did not hear, Will is a former student of the program, and now you're also involved in helping teach the program.
I am.
How instrumental was this program in your life?
So back in 2019, I got offered to come join the program. Obviously now I was an alumni of it. They have done so much for me. I got my flight instructor license last year, and then I got awarded the opportunity to come back and teach the program. When I first got the opportunity, I was a little scared because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I kind of grew into the instructor I've always wanted to be, and it gave me a different perspective of teaching. I recently just graduated 13, and I'm teaching them now in the skies, and it has been the most beautiful thing in the world.
When kids are watching this right now, what do you want them to know who might be thinking, oh, I want to be able to fly, become a pilot too? What would you tell them? Honestly,
the biggest thing is the only person that stops you in life is yourself. So if you can get yourself out of bed and give yourself a purpose and discipline yourself, anything is possible.
Susan, if you could, tell us why these causes are so important and where people can go to find tickets and participate in the event.
Absolutely. From the ground to the sky, teaching young underrepresented kids learning how to fly. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, less than 3% of black and brown people are pilots. And at Polo and Jazz this Saturday, we are changing the numbers and changing the complexion. Presented by Dwayne King Law Offices in a Sling. Call the King. And you can purchase your tickets at poloxjazz.com. Ooh la la.
There you go. Susan, Jerome, Bill. I'm sorry, I meant Will. I know your name's William, but I keep wanting to call you Bill.
Fine.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Grand Estate, Sean.
All right, thank you. As you know, the nation is marking its 250th anniversary. News 4's Tommy McFly is taking behind the marble to hidden historic gems all throughout our region. Today, he visited King William County, Virginia, and the Pamunkey Indian Reservation.
There's a lot of talk about the 1770s, but let's for a second talk about the 1640s. The Pamunkey Indian tribe is the longest running in America, and Chief Brown is joining us on the side of the Pamunkey River. Thank you for making time today.
You're here on the oldest reservation in the country, and this area north of the York River was established as Indian land in 1646. This is where Powhatan is buried, according to Pamunkey oral history. And there's other chiefs that were buried here too.
Powhatan, a very important figure in the history of Pamunkey.
Yeah, Powhatan was the father of Pocahontas, and he was actually born up near Richmond at a village called Powhatan. A lot of people come here to meditate and honor Powhatan, and they leave offerings. So it's open to the public.
And you have such a history here in Virginia along the river. What do you want people to know about Pamunkey culture?
We maintain a lot of our culture. We're trying to revive some of it now. We have language classes going on. Basket making, pottery classes, and we're working closely with environmental scientists because the reservation is sinking and we have a lot of shoreline restoration problems. We have flooding going on. The reservation soil is very sandy, and so it's sinking, and with climate change, the tides are getting higher each year, and we've been doing everything we can to try to preserve the shoreline. We've been bringing in boulders and riprap and placing it all around the reservation just to try to stop the erosion from happening so we can maybe live here a little bit longer. We're looking for new, higher ground. And so that's part of our mindset in our land purchases, to get higher ground so we can have housing for the future generation.
A tribe that's survived 10,000 years on this land.
We're a surviving people. A couple of weeks ago, we purchased a property on the Pamunkey that's only 14 acres, but that's the site of our original village, Kiptop.
Wow.
And we were attacked there in 1644 by William Claiborne. And he chased us from there and we came up here. But now, we turned around and bought it back. And we're gonna turn it into a winery, bed and breakfast, historic tourism. Reenactments. And we might even build an Indian village here to honor our ancestors and our history.
This land that was taken away, and now it's yours again.
Yep.
We have such an incredible, incredible history. Thank you, Tommy. Well, that'll do it for News 4, the rundown for this Wednesday night. We hope you'll join us back here. Jim and I will be here for News 4 at 11. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great evening.